excited but natural English accent. The atmosphere at Anfield has been tense, and it's not for lack of talent. After a flawless start to the season with 6 consecutive wins and football that thrilled the eyes, Arne Slot's Liverpool saw the tide turn sharply and unexpectedly. 3 successive defeats shook not only the table but also the confidence of a team that, until recently, seemed unshakable. For the first time since the Dutch manager took charge, the side has plunged into a negative run, and questions began to emerge from all directions. Among analysts, commentators, and even the most loyal fans, one question resonates: what is happening with Liverpool? Amid this whirlwind, Virgil van Dijk, captain and symbol of leadership both on and off the pitch, decided to speak out, and did so in his own way. Direct, confident, and with that touch of coldness that has made him one of the greatest defenders of the modern era. In an interview with NBC Sports, he was challenged over what many considered the team's Achilles heel, the right-back position. The journalist suggested that the absence of Trent Alexander-Arnold, who left the club at the end of his contract for Real Madrid, was the true root of the team's defensive problems. Van Dijk, however, was quick to dismiss the notion. With a firm gaze and the tone of someone carrying the weight of the armband, he replied, "The right-back is not the problem, if that's what you're trying to imply." When the reporter pressed, asking again about the loss of Trent's influence, the Dutchman retorted, "You've asked 2 questions about fullbacks. Perhaps you think that's the problem, but it isn't." His response sounded like a cry of pride and loyalty, a refusal to accept that Liverpool, a club built on tradition and collective soul, could be reduced to the absence of a single player. Van Dijk went on to defend the team's spirit over individual issues. Trent had incredible qualities, no one doubts that. But he's gone, and we have to move on. We played many times without him last season, and we won. Of course, we were sad to see him leave, but that's not why we're facing difficulties. The captain emphasized what Arne Slot has been repeating since the start of the crisis. The problem is collective, the moment is temporary, and work is the only remedy. We've always known this would be a difficult season. We have to go through it together, not just us, the players, but also the coaching staff and the fans. Everyone has to keep believing. The defender's words are not just a defense of the team, but also a demonstration of Slot's philosophy, who arrived at the club with the difficult mission of renewing an established squad without losing the identity left by Jurgen Klopp. Under his leadership, Liverpool adopted a style of play that is intense and direct, but also marked by patience and control, qualities that brought them the title in the Dutch manager's first season. However, as Slot himself often says, the Premier League doesn't forgive mistakes, and in recent weeks the team has left gaps that opponents such as Chelsea have exploited with surgical precision. The 2-1 defeat at Stamford Bridge was a hard blow. Liverpool controlled much of the game, but conceded decisive spaces on the right side of defence, precisely the sector most questioned by the press. Chelsea's Marc Cucurella found far too much freedom to attack, and in one of those advances crossed for a Stephen Willian to score the decisive goal in stoppage time. For the supporters, the image of the Spanish player advancing alone was a gut punch. The criticism was immediate. The team misses Alexander-Arnold, and defensive coverage in that area simply doesn't work. The situation was made even clearer by Mohamed Salah's behaviour, who, in poor form, contributed little to defensive recovery. The Egyptian star, once a symbol of intensity and determination, seems far from his best. Many journalists have begun to speculate about an early departure, despite his contract running until 2027. Rumours suggest that Arne Slot and sporting director Richard Hughes have already identified possible replacements, 3 names that, according to the English press, are on the wish list for a future attacking overhaul. But while some preferred to point fingers, Van Dijk insists on viewing the situation calmly. For him, it is precisely at times like these that the true strength of a squad is revealed. "There's still a lot of work to do," he stated. "In football, everything changes in a matter of days. 3 wins and you're back at the top. 3 losses and everyone says it's all over. That's the nature of the game." His words resonated among fans who know how much the Dutchman represents stability and leadership in turbulent times. Meanwhile, outside the club, former players have started to share their opinions, one of them being Daniel Sturridge, the former number 15 of the Reds. With an analytical view, Sturridge believes Liverpool's problem is not just defensive, but emotional. He pointed to the departure of Luis Diaz as one of the summer window's biggest mistakes. For the former striker, the Colombian was the engine of the pressing system that suffocated Liverpool's rivals. When I think of the team that won everything a few years ago, I remember Diaz as the guy who gave his all, who helped the defence and drove the offensive rhythm. He sacrificed himself without thinking of statistics, and that kind of player is rare, he told Sky Sports. Sturridge's comment brought up a sensitive point. The signings made for the attack, such as Hugo Ekitike, Alexander Isak and Florian Wirtz, have plenty of talent, but perhaps lack the same spirit of sacrifice. They're excellent, there's no question of that, but who among them is willing to run back when the team loses the ball? Questioned the former player. That doubt reflects Arne Slot's dilemma, who is still seeking a balance between attacking brilliance and defensive consistency, something Klopp managed to build perfectly at his peak. And it's not only an attack that concerns are mounting. There is also uncertainty over Ibrahima Konaté's future. The French defender has yet to renew his contract, which expires in June 2026, and there are rumours that Real Madrid are watching his situation closely. Journalist David Ornstein revealed that the club has been trying to convince him to extend his deal, but with constant speculation, the shadow of a transfer is growing over Anfield. Meanwhile, the board is quietly working on a list of potential defensive reinforcements, with at least 4 names already being considered for January. Amid rumours, criticism and fiery speeches, it is clear that Liverpool is living through one of those moments that tests not only a manager's tactics, but the heart of an entire squad. Arne Slot, faithful to his calm and rational stance, avoids talking about a crisis and prefers to see it as a natural process of adaptation. He constantly reminds that the club has undergone a deep rebuild and that results will come in time. It's not about panic, he said recently. It's about staying focused and understanding that we are human. Football is made of highs and lows, and only those who keep working find balance. Amid this scenario, Liverpool enters the international break needing to breathe, reorganise and perhaps rediscover the spark that made them shine. Even under pressure, Arne Slot still counts on the support of most fans, a reflection of the trust he has earned with his intelligent and composed style. Van Dijk remains the team's moral shield, the man who stands up to criticism and takes responsibility. And it is precisely this combination, Slot's calm and Van Dijk's firmness, that could define Liverpool's next chapter. Because if there is one thing the club's history teaches, it is that the greatest triumphs always come after the greatest trials. Liverpool has risen from the ashes before, and their fans know it. Recent defeats hurt, but they also reignite hunger. And when the whistle blows again in the Premier League, few will doubt that the Reds will step onto the pitch with something more than tactics. They will step on with hearts beating for the rescue of their greatness.